This is going to be an episode full of me not knowing how to pronounce things, specifically names.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to start right away with, hey, Nicholas.
Yeah.
What's your last name?
It would be Afliji, which is strange because if you say it right, you're saying it wrong.
Come on and visit for any occasion. Don't keep patting down waiting, comics and conversation. Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers.
So we are here because, I say here, but we're not here. You are all the way on the other side of the country in Florida, and I'm in Chicago. But we're all going to be together very soon on Monday, May 13th. The two of you are coming to Chicago on tour for your brand new image graphic novel, Little Girls. And we're going to have a big-ass party at the store, including the two of you and two different bands and the graphic novel and, most importantly, merriment for all.
Yes, most important, yeah.
And I realize I keep saying you, but the you are the creators of this book, Nicholas Afliji and Sarah Delane. Wait, did I do it wrong? Did I immediately do it wrong, Nicholas? Did I say
because
it wrong
I said that was right, remember?
Man.
So I accidentally made it confusing.
Yeah.
Afliji.
Afliji. Nope, never going to get it right. Sorry.
Afliji.
Like a Fleegee.
To give respect to my grandfather, you have to say it as wrong as you can.
For people listening, we already had this talk, and he already told me how to say it, and I immediately got it wrong. So I can't wait to get into some of the character names later to butcher them as well.
It's fun.
It's not as bad as you're probably, getting ready for, so don't worry.
Well, now that sounds like a challenge.
No, not at all.
What is that girl? Saham? How do you say that? No, I'm kidding. All right. So.
Oh, no.
Ooh, good.
Oh, no. Here we go.
So, Little Girls is first of all, as far as I can tell, it's the first long-form graphic novel that the two of you have done in your careers. And it's pretty wild to be like out of the gate to have this. And in fact, we'll get into this a little bit later, but Sarah, you and I have a professional relationship that goes back years. And until this book was solicited, I did not know you were an artist.
A lot of people didn't. It was the best secret, right?
I blame me for that.
No, not at all. I just didn't really talk about it that much.
So, like, the first thing you do is this graphic novel, and it's such an interesting concept and story. I'm curious as to how this came about as to be like, hey, this is the thing that we're going to collaborate on. This is going to be our launch book, if you will.
I love comics, and I was kind of wanting to make comics sort of right out of the gate. When I found comics, that was sort of the very next thing that I said was, well, I could do this. and so, talk to Nicholas about it.
Oh, well, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I talked to him about it.
Yeah, no, she brought it up. She kind of got into comics late in the game. And by late in the game, it means not at that magical time that Sam and Lilette, are at that age. We kind of made it at that one. But what happened is she got into comics, fell in love with them. We've been friends for quite a while, and she said this throwaway line where she said, I wish somebody would make a comic script with my strengths in mind, and then I could just make it. And she was kind of laughing at the time, but I was like, in my mind, I was like, that's a great idea. And so I went home and feverishly wrote a script, like a first draft, and it took me a couple weeks. And as I've said before, I forgot to inform her of that. So I gave her the first draft of a fully formed graphic novel, and I'm like, hey, I did that thing you said. And she's like, what? What thing did I say? And I guess I either guilted her into it or she actually liked it and thought I hit the right notes that were her strengths, and that's how we started collaborating.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a great idea. Already. And I obviously I loved the script, or I wouldn't have drawn all this stuff.
Or you're horribly guilty.
Yeah, or I just really got guilted into it. But no, it was when I discovered comics, I started reading them as long form, like graphic novels or trade paperback collections. because I didn't read them as a kid, and I just hadn't really discovered, single issues. It's just not, it wasn't my experience. So in my mind, I always thought my favorite way to read comics was as a graphic novel. So it made sense for me to do a graphic novel. Although when I was talking about making comics,
Sure.
initially I hadn't really planned on making a full graphic novel, but that's what
See, though,
that's what he wrote.
I blame this though on you because the comics you were really liking were like A Tale of One Bad Rat. You liked Bone, but you liked the huge compendium.
Yeah.
And so those were the ones you were really liking. I'm like, okay, so those are some of the things she really loves. That'll keep her attention.
Yeah.
Here's some strength. And so it's really your fault.
Well, we had right, it is. Well, we had talked about loving graphic novels as sort of a storytelling format, and we had talked about it a lot. So it kind of makes sense that it went there, but it wasn't expected.
Yeah.
Well, I got to say, in all the time I've been talking to people about their first into comics, not many people, and by that I mean no one, has ever brought up Brian Talbot as one of their early favorites. So kudos to you on Tale of One Bad Rat. And Nicholas, I can already tell your giving nature as a human being, because in your brief rundown of how this came about, you gave me the pronunciation of one of the characters. I did not know if I was saying their name right. So you already slipped that in. And I feel like you did that on purpose to help me out. So
we'll go with that. We'll pretend that was the case and not that I'm just a little too gregarious. We'll just say that I'm giving. I like that version better.
So in the spirit of giving, who wants to give the elevator pitch for little girls?
I'm really not good at elevator pitch, but I guess I could try it. I'll start, and if I mess it up, Nick, just
mine would be bad, I think. So.
Okay, so Sam moves to another city again, and she moves around a lot, but she finally meets a new friend, and she develops this friendship through some monster hunting. That's
all right,
kind of the basics of it, right?
I thought you have to meet something in an elevator pitch. Don't you have to meet something?
Oh yeah.
No, I mean that can be. It can, well, I mean, either way, like one of it could be like, hey, what's the quick concept? And the other thing
I like
is,
the previous. I like the former. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I'm gonna try one if you don't mind. Let me think.
This meets this.
Yeah, I'm gonna try this meets this.
Yeah, we never actually really thought about.
No, I can do it. Wait.
This meets this for the little girls.
It's almost too bad that you just have me on this recording, because Challenger's co-owner, W. Dow Bush, is excellent at doing the boiling things down.
Oh, I'm horrible at it. I'm going to see if I can be better at it now. So it's... wait. It's like when you were early teens and a friend would stay over at night and you'd sneak out of the house and you'd run around your neighborhood late at night, and it was very different, meets Uncle Boon May, who can recall his past lives, but for kids.
That's a really that's a very specific. That's
horrible.
I certainly can't say that's wrong, because I don't get half of it. But
the second half is referencing a film, but the first half I totally get.
Yeah. No, that's a film that was kind of inspiration for pacing on this, although not to the extent that film did.
Okay,
so.
I just thought of one off the top of my head, so it's not well researched, but what do you think of it's Stranger Things meets Out of Africa?
That's 100 times better. And 20 less words. That's so much better. You could say that in an elevator.
Yeah.
You can, but I don't know if that is enough to get someone to say, oh, I'll try that, as into more like, what?
No, that's intriguing enough, because see, mine is like they hit their floor and they're leaving, and I'm running after them trying to say like 2 more sentences. Yours was actually an elevator.
They're mashing the buttons.
Right.
Yeah, we never said we were good at this, okay?
Yeah, I'm game. I'm not good at it. I'm game at trying to
I think I kind of think that we're already showing people why they need to come meet you in person, because they can try to give their own version of an elevator pitch if they've read it, or even off of what we've said. Hopefully they have some sort of preconceived notions, and hopefully that they realize that seeing you guys in live in a store setting would be highly entertaining because it already is just chatting.
Yeah, and the very niche fan base who loves Thai cinema and, and cinema history will go after that as well. They'll hear it and be like, oh.
Who knows? I know. I think there are definitely some comics people that like a lot of rare movies.
Oh, we're all about mashing different
Yeah.
cultures, so that's what the tour's about too. Is that we like
That's
different
true.
cultural whatnot.
Yeah, there's an unexpected discussion of Japanese city life in the middle of this book, which came out of nowhere. Where is I guess where is Sam's her and her father? Where are they from originally?
They were from the U.S.
Okay,
but they are. She is specifically a third culture kid, so
gotcha.
she's having a very different experience than what her father or anything like that. And since my first experience with third culture kids was in Japan, that's why.
Oh, sure,
we
that
also
makes sense.
based it, yeah.
Yeah. For some reason, she was British in my head, but that's nothing to do with.
You know,
the way
It's
she's
never said
portrayed.
in it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's never said in it, so she can be British. We're okay with that.
Yeah, and
But-
honestly, me asking where she's from has no bearing on the story. It doesn't matter where she's from. What matters is
Right.
where she is now and who she is.
yeah,
Right.
you can
And-
give her like a New York accent if you want. Do whatever in your head, right?
Yeah, she can
Yeah.
be from
Yeah.
Wisconsin if you want as well. It's,
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
not want that, but that's quite all right.
you would have much different feelings than us from.
I have
Florida.
nothing. I have nothing against Wisconsin. Wisconsin is fine.
I was about to ask what happened
They have
in Wisconsin.
They have
Patrick.
the Mars Cheese Castle. That alone makes them worth being alive.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I missed
Oh no,
it.
I was just saying Wisconsin has the Mars Cheese Castle, so that alone is worth it.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's interesting. I didn't.
I don't know how you are getting around on this tour, but if you find yourself headed toward Milwaukee, perhaps the Cheese Castle is somewhere to visit.
Okay, I'm just interested in interesting landmarks that you can drive to, so I'm writing that down right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, it's not that far away from Chicago.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm interested in that. We have, I think, in Florida, although it's down south from where we are, the Coral Castle. If you've heard of that one, where that older gentleman made a castle out of large bits of like coral and different stones that nobody really knows how he did it and how he did the hinges and everything. So that's our special castle close to us.
Nice. The only things we really have are, I guess, White Castle here in Chicago.
Nice. That's a
What's the
well-known
lore?
castle.
What's the lore behind the White Castle? I don't. We have crystals. We don't know of this White Castle.
Oh, yeah. I legit don't know, and I was going to make something up, and I was afraid that as I was doing it, there's going to be someone listening going, "What? No, that's completely wrong."
I know Harold and Kumar went there, but I never saw the movie, so I figured it was some sort of historical landmark, some sort of castle in the north.
Well,
Yeah,
I think.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I think I know who our sponsor is now. I'm expecting that PayPal White Castle.
White Castles in
Oh, you'll get paid, but you'll only get paid in White Castle hamburgers.
Oh, never mind.
Sometimes you get a craving, so that could come in handy.
Especially if you are road tripping this tour, they will make sure you have a car full of them, and preferably your air conditioning doesn't work in the car, so you're gonna smell real good.
The steamy
Wow.
White Castle sliders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In
I mean, what really epitomizes an Ethiopian monster hunting buddy book more than little square hamburgers?
Yep. And the steamy windows of a car
That's right.
without air conditioning that
Oh.
houses them.
Yeah, we are driving, so we'll hopefully find some really interesting things on this big road trip we're doing.
I'm sure you already have your tour of like the largest ball of string, or those kind of things set up ahead of time.
Hopefully
but
we'll have
getting-
some time.
Well, you got a week and a half. You can figure something out. Actually,
Yeah.
so you've done one stop on this tour so far. You were at Coliseum of Comics, right?
Yes, we were. It's
And-
it's right here in Jacksonville. That was our kickoff in our hometown.
And it looked like it was a pretty great turnout. The photos I saw looked like the place was slamming.
Yeah, it was so fun, and we had a good, like a fun mix of people, because we had people that came out to see the band that hadn't heard of the book, and people that came out for the book that hadn't heard of the bands, and so we were all sort of discovering new local music and new stories and stuff, and it was just fun.
The bands were really good, and then just different people who make stuff came out, and it was really nice to talk to everybody and share the thing that we just made. It was a good vibe.
Yeah, it was a lot of good sort of community.
See right there, you just said you were sharing with other people, and you're also sharing with bands wherever you go. Like you're trying to have local bands that people may not have really had that much experience with as part of these tours, which is pretty great.
I have a musical background of like touring and stuff like that, and I always thought it would be an amazing thing to actually play inside a comic book shop, because I've loved comic books forever. I would talk comic books with other band members and things like that, and then to actually set that up with the first graphic novel that I helped create was kind of a dream come true.
Yeah.
And on the Chicago stop, we have Gentle Heat and Catchy?
Catchy the band, yeah.
Okay. Catchy the band. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize the band was part of the band name.
That is part of the band
Catchy
name,
the band. Yeah, okay. Because that Catchy is also the first name of one of the band members, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. That is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got some really good music for Chicago. We're so excited.
Yeah.
You really do. Like,
Yeah.
we have on our website and on the Facebook event page, we have links to both bands' Bandcamp pages. And as such, I've been listening to them for a little while, and they're both really good and really different from each other.
Yeah. Well, the criteria that we set were bands whose sound levels would not destroy the foundation of any comic book place, and bands that we personally really enjoyed, or that, like, whether we knew them before or not. And I knew former members of Gentle Heat before. I did not know this band as well, and then I checked out. I'm like, this band's amazing. I should ask them if they want to do it. I'm like, oh, wait, I know some of these people. How lucky. And so they were nice enough, even though their members are split, to do that and play this show. We're really happy to have Gentle Heat and Catchy. We were looking for some bands. We want to make sure they meld somewhat, but it is like a varied thing because we're putting comics with it. So we want it to be varied, but yet have a nice overall feel. And we found Catchy the band, and I was really happy with that as well.
So I was going to say that I'd be impressed with the fact of you knowing different bands in all the cities that you're going to, but I think I'm more impressed that you didn't necessarily know Catchy the band. You just knew they were from Chicago, and then you just reached out and made it happen.
Yeah, but that yeah, thank you. But that was because of my former experience. You kind of get how you can do that and who would be amenable to that, and it worked out very well in that respect. We have a lot of bands that we're really, I mean, it's almost, we do want to sign because we're picking comic shops that we respect, who have always pushed the envelope to how we always thought comic shops should be in a community. Yeah, that is for challengers.
Well, we have a lot to live up to now, apparently.
Not
okay.
at all. You can rest on your laurels, but
oh, trust me, we do.
But yeah, besides that, it's going to be nice just to have this moment where we get to sign books and everything, but then watch these amazing bands and share this like creative interaction with them, people that we respect creatively too. The comic shops that we respect, it's a nice culmination for this thing we've worked on for quite a while.
Yeah, there was
such a great idea.
There was also this kind of I don't know how obvious it is to everybody, but since the girls talk about, oh, we're gonna start a band.
Yeah.
Oh, so we have dual vocals and all this stuff. As they're walking around in this dangerous situation in the book, they're talking about starting a band because that's just the kind of stuff that kids do. But
yeah, that's exactly what kids would do, whether it's starting a band or writing their own comic or filming a movie or whatever. That's just what they do. Like the whole monster hunting aspect is just the conduit for them to have these conversations, is what I feel like my life was growing up.
Yes, exactly. Because I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that the book is marketed as fantasy and horror, but it's really just relationship drama, whether it be from the girls themselves or from the lions and the hyenas, or them like the the different battle aspects, the relationship of the different animals together.
Yeah.
Like it feels like it's just connections, like just drama and relationship all the way through.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's not. I don't know if anyone would have known what to do with it if we had called it just relationship drama, and then they had seen the scary stuff. They might be a little like, oh wow, what?
Yeah, seeing all the eye boogers and the saliva on the monster, they'll be like, oh, relationship.
Right. So we had to kind of warn them that it was going to be scary.
No, I totally get it. And in fact, we rack our graphic novels by genre, and this is in the horror section,
right,
based off of how it was listed. But it's so much more than that, and it's a lot. Like,
yeah, thank you.
The horror you're welcome. The horror is twofold because, like, you're confronted with things. Like, first of all, we don't know if this is real or not. Second of all, you're confronted with an immediate fear, as in, oh, this is confronting you right in the face. And then third of all, there's just like the after effects of living your life with this experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's a variety of horror, just like adolescence.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
basically. I mean, it's scary enough to be a kid, but I mean, they're dealing with a lot of monsters already as kids.
But that's just the great thing about kids is kids take everything in stride, and you know, as adults confronted with the situation, I don't know. My first response is, all right, let's go out in the middle of the night and try to find this creature that's out there.
Yeah, and that could have been
my response would be like, I'm never leaving my house again.
Right.
Actually, that's a point we did try to put across in this book is that the mental flexibility of being young at that age actually was kind of a huge advantage and weapon for our two protagonists.
Yeah, they don't give it a second thought, which is what kids do. Like, I've watched kids fall out of a treehouse, get up, look around, and then just climb back up again. But until there's an adult that says, "Oh my gosh, are you okay?" That's when they think,
exactly.
This hurts.
Yes,
I should cry now.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Well, and I mean, I don't want to be too spoilery, but they end up looking out for each other too. So, I mean, part of it is that they're out there just kind of risking things without really thinking about it, because that's what kids do. But they're also there for each other. It's that friendship.
Yeah, they absolutely are.
Yeah,
I mean, that's from the very beginning of the characters' introductions to each other. That's how they start.
Yeah, it's the big thing is they finally found somebody that they click with for different reasons. You know, they might have had friends before, but Sam and Lilette finally have found somebody, and it's kind of chronicling that as much as anything, or even maybe more so. There's no relation. There's no like romantic drama. They're not frenemies. They just click. They're happy, and you get to see the genesis of their friendship.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we can all relate to because we all had friends like that. Or I hope we all had friends like that when we were kids.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you do find a close friend like that around that age, I mean, it's like a really big deal, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And you want to share everything with your BFF, and, you know, that's what life is, you know?
Well, it's almost sad now to remember those times and think back and say, when did I lose touch with those people?
Yeah.
Where are they now? I have no idea. And are they happy?
Yeah.
Are they still monster hunting on their own?
Maybe.
But not in the same way, because it was a very particular relationship with that person.
Yeah, that's true. Or maybe they're dead because I wasn't there to save them from the monster.
Nope. We will avoid that.
Great. Now this is all my fault. Great.
Nope. We'll pretend that never occurred. They're all alive unless it's proven otherwise.
So why was Ethiopia the setting for this?
Well, once I sat down and I did my ridiculously poorly thought out idea of writing the script without informing her, although that slipped my mind. One of the things I started to think about it, she's very good at drawing the natural world because of how she does a very unique style of detail. She's always been drawn to horror comic style. And so there was this article I read like on a forum that was very procedural. It was like a news article, and it was about how this man was losing his livestock and how it might become a larger trend within the region and everything. And they were talking about how it could be a sick hyena or maybe a sick other apex predator that's doing it. And at the very end, they asked him for a quote, and he's like, well, I think it's the Nandi bear that did it. I'm sure of it, and it's eating the brains to become smarter. And then that was the end, and it was like, wow, they buried the lead. I am blown away how they just said that in nonchalantly. It's a very different world. And so then I was like, well, I really want to write about this creature if it's feasible. And so then I looked it up. I decided that that Karet would be the matriarch of the Lost Hyena clans. And once I did that, I found out that the most violent hyena lion wars, because that is definitely a thing that's happened for decades now, was about an hour out from Harar, Ethiopia. And it was a repeated experience around there. And so since she is from Kenya, Karet, that's why she says the loud battle cries woke her up. And so that's why she travels there and sees what's happening. It's kind of a very important event within the hyenas' history, their secret history.
Right, so things kind of came together. Now, that Sam and Lilette don't know this at all. None, they might have heard of some of this, but they're kids, right?
Right.
So their experience of all this is just what they know.
Yeah, they are not intimidated by the history or the secret lore of it all at all. They just
nor would they be.
Right.
Well, one of the things that I like about the story itself is that even though I just said, hey, why is it there? Why is it set there? It doesn't matter. Like, in the context of the story, it just is. And at no point are you saying, like, oh, well, this is here because you, Nicholas, like, grew up there or spent time there. Or, like, no, that's the way this story worked out. And it may feel on the surface like this is a pretty weird subject matter, but it just, once you jump in, you're just in. And it doesn't, everything else doesn't really matter. I mean, it's obviously it's clear you did your research. But it's just such a unique.
I'm glad you feel that way, because that is, as I was talking about before, me and Sarah talked about certain ideas and things we wanted to hit, and pacing was really important. So what I wanted to do is create a certain type of pace, and Sarah did too, of course, with the art. What we wanted to do was create this pacing that could kind of call mindfulness, in order to where you become aware of your present moment as they're just living their life as well. And it kind of, maybe if I do it right, hypnotically draws you in, is the hope. Because there were different movies and comics that were really influencing me like that at the time. And I think it really came through in this book.
Yeah, definitely. And going back to what you said about how good Sarah is drawing animals. I was going to say, Sarah, you are, but it's hard to take a thing that he said about you and not make it sound like you said it about yourself when I'm trying to phrase it this way. So anyway, my point is I like to call out the awkwardness that I cause.
I enjoy that. That's one of my favorite forms of comedy. Yeah. So by all means, go ahead.
The motion, the way you draw motion, people in motion and animals in motion, just the way the bodies are contorted in the way they are as people move and run, and you don't have to fill it with motion lines or over exaggeration of fists pumping. It's just a natural curve of a figure to show like the effort put in by the animal or by the person, and it's unique and awesome.
It's actually funny you say that, because I think part of that is that, like we were talking about earlier, I didn't grow up reading comics. So my art influence was not mainly from comic books to begin with. It was from a lot of other things. But like we always talk about how I really loved the Beatrix Potter books and stuff.
Sure.
I just really love that style. It's just it's a lot more quiet and natural feeling. So I liked that, and just a lot of other things too. And once I got into comics, of course, I got a lot of different influences too. I don't know, Mobius and like Junji Ito and stuff like that. But
you did.
But I think that part of that is because I wasn't one of those kids that would sit there and draw my favorite comic book characters, because I didn't really know about them that much.
You were drawing Jeremy Fisher and
I was drawing little mice and things,
and Squirrel Nutkin and all these other Beatrix Potter.
Right, exactly. Or like flowers, or just random things. Yeah.
Well, there's just this trend in comics that when there's pages of dialogue or people on the phone, it's a lot of talking heads, or it's just a lot of like a cut and paste of a facial expression. But for example, you have a scene where Sam and Lilette are on the phone, and just their body shape and the way they're holding themselves is different from panel to panel, but it's also natural, like adolescent fidgeting and moving around and shifting and, you know, holding a foot or holding or spread out on the bed, or just little, like, it's not the awkwardness of a stiff body holding what appears to be a phone near their face.
Oh yeah, no, and that was all her. I'm a huge fan of that as well. Like we wrote. It's a collaborative process. We work back and forth. But those were all. She's like, "What do you think of this?" I'm like, "This is great. I love how you're doing this." She's like, "Okay, so this translates well." I'm like, I love this," and I was a huge cheerleader. That scene specifically, I loved how she did. I'm glad you brought that up.
Well, I'd like to thank April for that, my friend back in junior
of
high.
That age.
Right, because we would have, you know, late night phone calls, and we'd just chat on the phone, and, you know, we were supposed to be going to bed, but we had really important things to talk about. And, I mean, you kind of, like, I don't know, when you're trying to draw a scene like that, you sort of go back to that time and you try to feel what the characters are feeling and talking about. So, I don't know.
Well, it's funny because I was talking about that pacing with, you know, to kind of bring out mindfulness, and you just hit it perfectly, and that was not me writing it, and all those were your ideas. I loved it.
Thanks.
It sounds like a true collaboration from start to finish, even if half of you didn't know it was happening.
Well, those first 2 weeks, It was not. She created the spark that got it going, where she said that throwaway line that she said as a joke, and then from there, it's been a collaboration since that.
Yeah. After I got the script, though, we both were we were talking back and forth about it a lot, and storyboarding was very back and forth collaboration.
Oh yeah.
We talked about how to make the scenes really have impact and be scary when they needed to be scary, and all
the correct
all the
character sketches and everything. That back and forth a lot of characters.
I drew a lot of different versions of her.
Yeah, the Nandi Bear. Yeah.
Yeah, some of them look not scary enough. So,
It's also impressive that it's over 170 pages for your first graphic novel.
It was not just the first graphic novel, but it was my first comic that I drew. So, yeah, I don't really know what to say about that. I wouldn't recommend that to most people. I really wouldn't.
But you enjoyed the looks of shock with your peers and contemporaries in the comic scene whenever you tell them this was your first thing.
Yeah.
They're gaping jaws. They're dropped.
I think oh my gosh.
This was your first thing, yeah.
Yeah, I think there were some professional artists that I was like, yeah, I'm making a graphic novel, and they're like, no, no.
Do a mini, then do a single issue.
Yeah, they warned me. They're like, don't do that. But
there was wisdom in that, but this was good too.
No, because it definitely takes a lot of dedication to do that.
Yeah,
that's a euphemism.
Yeah,
dedication. That's all it takes.
Right. just call it that.
See, I was trying to politely dance around because I didn't know for sure it was your first comic thing. I just thought that I couldn't find anything else that you'd done online and that I wasn't looking in the right places. So I was trying to politely phrase it like, oh, it's your first.
Yeah. No, it was the first thing. I drew all of this. There was a short story that I did with Richard Starkings that came out in the Aftershock anthology.
Oh, sure.
But I drew that after Little Girls. So
gotcha.
Even though it technically came out first.
Yeah, well, this was your, you'd have to stop and live life and get other stuff done. They're like, oh man, we still need to work on this, and we come back to this.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually my next question is, how long did it take you to do this?
It's a good question.
No, somebody recently asked.
I don't know.
Yeah, we should have looked, but it's been a while. It's at least around a decade.
But I assume that, the point is, this is not, you didn't sit down and say, I'm doing this, and then life stops. Like Nicholas just made the point where you have to do other things and whatnot. So for it being over a decade, it's actually pretty consistent in the way it looks from start to finish. In that, it's not Like,
That's all Sarah, yeah.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I mean, actually, I've had it. It's been done for a few years, but
But
we
the
just,
tweaks,
yeah, we had to put it on the shelf and
then you tweak it to make sure that after 10 years it
Well,
had a
that's true.
consistent,
Yeah, and we had to find a colorist, and life.
sure.
Yeah.
So there was some time where definitely it was like, oh, the inking was done, but it didn't live in a published comic book yet.
Yeah, you were like, I remember going, do you think we could do this black and white? And we're like, nope, it's got to be color. Oh
Yeah,
man, here we
yeah.
go.
Yeah, but then
The color
then I
really
found
does add a lot to the mood, and especially in the night sequences, or illustrating when the flashlight's in use and things like that. So that was important.
yeah, definitely. I mean, Ashley, she is
Our colorist, Ashley Laney.
yeah, she's really great, and she's actually, it's funny because we were looking forever for a colorist, off and on, and I just, I would get really discouraged, and I'd kind of be like, oh, I'll look later, and then we ended up finding Ashley locally in our own city because we both live in Jacksonville, and so we brought on this colorist that's from Jacksonville, so we would always meet up and have coffee and just became really good friends.
Well, that was kind of just good synchronicity, though, because at first you were just like, wow, she's a really great artist. I just want to become her friend.
she's-
I love her art.
Yeah, she does these really wonderful watercolor illustrations. So I just really liked her art already,
And then she's like, oh, I do coloring. And you're like, oh, maybe we can make this work, though.
Yeah, and then we already we had a colorist that was from Jacksonville, and then we were like, well, man, for the letterer, let's pick a local.
Yep.
So we picked Adam Willett. So he's also local to Jacksonville, which is really strange that our whole creative team is Jacksonville.
Well, we
based.
found out that there's a lot of professionals, but it's just such a spread out city and to do this type of work, you're often, just kind of hermited away in a
secluded, yeah.
cave.
You're living in your own world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the reasons Nick and I talk all the time, but I make a point of, like, with Ashley, like, meeting up and having coffee sometimes just to talk, because she and I both, we are drawing a lot by ourselves, and it's nice to just meet up and talk to another person that gets that.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least nowadays there's the internet or Twitter or Instagram or whatever to at least make you feel like there's a connection to other people, as opposed to living in a cave. But I always love how comics seem like, at the same time, such a huge world and such a tiny little unit, because it seems like everybody knows everybody. Like you'd mentioned drawing something for Richard Starkings. Richard Starkings has the most illustrations. We've got a wall that creators sign when they're in, and Richard Starkings has the most illustrations on it. And Cena Graves did your introduction, and I met Cena in San Diego like 14 years ago. And here we're talking about. Richard is in LA now, but he's from England, and you guys are in Jacksonville, and Cena's.
Well, actually, he is. Is that open knowledge?
Actually, he moved.
Yeah, he's in Tennessee now.
Yeah.
Nice.
He's living up in the mountains.
Wow.
Yeah, he lives in the mountains.
Yeah, Richard Starking's like a Tennessee hill guy now.
He can't be a British hillbilly.
No,
he's not anyway.
Hey, if anybody
But,
can, he can. Yeah, that's great. But when you see different creators interacting with each other on Twitter, it's like, oh yeah, it's cool that they know each other and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it is such a small world that you kind of do get to know each other. We all go to these conventions and stuff, and we make a point of introducing each other, and it's just easier to get along.
I noticed, like, with a lot of artists, it's kind of especially artists who've been through deadlines, you all act like you're war veterans of the sort.
Oh boy,
You guys are getting this 3,000-yard stare, and you're like, yeah, I had a deadline for this, we had to do this.
Yeah, that is really, really true.
Yeah. Even if they're very cordial and super nice at their tables and everything, then they start talking about the actual bones of it, and they'll be like, yeah, this deadline over for this publisher. And I'm like, yeah.
Long sigh. Yeah.
So Nick, what was your introduction to comics?
When I was having that aforementioned moment around the same time as Sam and Lilette was this comic book kiosk in a mall was closing down, and before I tried to buy mature comics, and they wouldn't let me, which is good. They shouldn't break the law just for me. They don't know me. Context, all that. But this guy who was closing down his kiosk did not have such reservations because he was very dejected at how the world had treated him. And so he's like, it's all half off. And so I'm like, all right. And so I got like Sandman. I think I got some Preacher too, but it was mostly Sandman that really got me and drew me in. That hit me at just the right time I needed, because I loved comic books before. When I was sick, my lovely mother would buy me Marvel comic books. I still can remember them. They've been like flash burned into my head. The Daredevil crossover with Ghost Rider, and I think the Punisher was in it, and Omega Red's first appearance. But when I truly fell in love, I enjoy that still. I love it. But when I truly fell in love with it was when I got those things, because it felt like I wasn't allowed, but then it was these different themes that I hadn't read in comics, and I turned on some music in my room, and it was just it was a very nice time, to put it lightly. I enjoyed it a great deal.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of speaks to this whole idea of like sneaking out.
Right.
There's apparently a real rebellious streak in us.
I know. Well, it's funny because we always talk about this book. Since Sarah came to it later, she never had her moment. And so we kind of write it to like the ghost of herself at the same age that everybody else was. Like, this will somehow it'll go through
it's
time.
It's your vicarious moment.
Yeah. Because when I got into comics, I was already fully grown.
Yeah, some weird Asimov moment where you'll find it and you'll be like, who wrote this and helped make it? It was me.
Yeah. Oh, I sent it through time to myself.
Not really, but
yeah.
Well, don't get started on time travel. That's a whole other can of worms, especially with maybe movies that are currently in theaters, or just in
I wouldn't know that because of spoilers. I think that's just something random.
I said movies plural. It could be anything. Isn't
You're
there,
right. Back to the Future. I didn't want to spoil it.
Is there a new Time Cop coming out this week? I thought. Oh no.
Time Cop. That's fair. It could be Time Cop.
But I think Kevin Hart is Time Cop now. That's.
He'll be doing a split, huh?
Something. Sure. Why not?
I might pay to see that. I don't know full price, but at a discount theater, I would maybe pay to see Kevin Hart do a full split, like at a discount theater.
I don't know, or maybe it's another graphic novel somebody can make
with Kevin Hart doing a split as a
Time
Cop. Yeah.
That's right. Wow! If there were any rails at any part of this podcast, we're off them now.
We have gotten rid of all the rails. We have completely derailed it. Yeah.
Maybe the third.
And then
third rail. Let's go there.
Be sure to come to the little girl's release party. It's the last thing we're all gonna do. Suicide pact at the end of it. Got it. So Sarah, then you got involved with Image, or I said then, but this is the time travel part of it, because I guess you were already doing this at that when you were okay.
Yeah.
No, you started character sketches and then
yeah. I mean, oh gosh, I don't even remember, but
yeah, might have not. Yeah, around the same. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I worked at a comic shop at night, and I had a different day job in a completely different industry in the daytime. But at night, I was working at a Comic Relief in Berkeley, and I was.
Oh wow! Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Did you know Rory?
I did know Rory. Yeah.
Yeah, he was really pretty influential. He and Todd, for sure, they were my bosses.
There were points where I thought I was on a physical track to look just like Rory. Save for the fedora.
They drew him into bone.
Yeah.
He is immortalized in bone. For anybody curious what Rory looks like in comic form.
Yeah, he's one of the villagers.
Nice. I honestly did not know that.
Yeah, it's funny. He would always be out front on the stool, sitting out front, smoking cigarettes, drinking a big mug of tea, with his cane, with his hat.
Holding court, they always said.
And there'd be, like half a dozen people around him just soaking in what he was saying.
They're all, having a little salon,
Yeah.
Rory used to hate the guy that I used to work for in my pre-Challengers days but he loved to tell me about it, and and I didn't care that he hated the guy that I worked for, so we got along just fine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he had opinions.
Actually, I take it back. He didn't hate him. He didn't understand him, and and he was It's not like so he'd come up to me at like a DCRP meeting and be like, when we first met, he's like, "Oh, you work for this guy?" I'm like, yeah. He's like, "Huh? So I guess why?" And
that sounds so much like him, because he would always try to understand. Yeah. That was one thing that was pretty cool about him. You actually wanted to hear why.
Well, he was a motivating factor too, why we ultimately decided to keep with the graphic novel format with this and everything.
Oh, excellent.
His championship about, he was a big push for the libraries and everything, I know, in that area and everything, and he was trying to do that nationally.
Yeah, I mean, Comic Relief,
for years.
The comic book store.
Yes, yeah, he was the first proponent of the comic book store.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so big influence on me, but that's where I got in touch with people at Image, because I was working there at night, and I would do kind of in my free time, basically do help out with drink and draw kind of things, or just
comics
jams, or whatever 24-hour comics day kind of thing, and organize some of the local cartoonists there to come around and do stuff like that. And I would help out at conventions and stuff like that. So Image ended up hiring me for marketing.
Yeah, and that's where we quote unquote met, because we've never actually met. But that's where
we haven't. It feels like we know each other
right?
in person. Yeah.
I also didn't even know you were gone from there until we were having a brief Twitter conversation after the fact, and I thought, like, why? Like, that made me put the dots together. I'm like, oh, right. Huh? Because it's such a, like, you never know when people move on from a company.
Yeah, you were like, why haven't I heard from her in a while? Yeah, right. Yeah, I haven't gotten any emails from her. What's going on?
Like literally leading up to this, because we did have an issue where the emails you were sending got sent to spam, and when I dug through my email history, because I don't ever empty it, I found our previous correspondence from your Image Comics email address.
That is too funny. Yeah.
Yeah. And this whole thing is, we felt terrible because you had reached, like, we were talking. I honestly, this is only a few weeks ago, but I don't remember how the idea of the our involvement in your tour happened. I don't remember who we were talking to about it, but if it wasn't, like, when we first started talking about this happening, that's when I finally said, I'm going to be friends with Sarah on Facebook so we can chat via Messenger to make things easier. And when we were doing it, that's when we realized, oh, you'd been sending us emails all along that we never saw.
Yeah,
and you're sitting there probably thinking we're not interested or we're not responding.
No, I had you guys down as confirmed. It was fine.
She had full faith.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I had faith. Yeah, it was an aha moment. We were like, wait a minute, he hasn't gotten the emails. Yeah.
Well, then I hadn't told my business partner and co-owner Dal Bush that you and I had been talking. So then he finally finds these emails for looking for something else. So then he answers you with this whole, like, I'm so sorry, we didn't know, like the whole thing that I'd just given you the night before. Yeah. So then you got the double round of apology.
I know. I kind of felt bad because I was like, hey, you guys were already confirmed in my mind. So it's fine with me. Yeah.
Well, again, this is going to be on Monday night, May 13th, starting at 6 p.m. We've got Nicholas, we've got Sarah, we've got Catchy the Band, we've got Gentle Heat, and we have Little Girls, which is the most important part of this, because we want, like, the reason we're doing this is because we have, the faith in the two of you as creators, but we've also read the book, so. If we didn't like the book, it'd be like, I guess we're going to do this.
Oh, thanks.
Or maybe the emails would have stayed longer in the spam, and then afterwards, like, oh, my bad.
Oh, yeah.
I do have this habit on Messenger because with Facebook Messenger, when you read a message from somebody, it tells the other person it's been read.
Oh,
So if I get a message from someone, like the screen of my phone will give me the first 2 sentences, I'll be like, "Oh, don't want to answer that one. Can't let them know I've read it."
Don't put that out for public consumption. Now people.
Oh, don't worry. The anybody who hears this will think, "Oh, he doesn't do that to me."
Yeah. No, don't worry. Patrick is not avoiding you. Don't worry.
You have such nice
That's right.
friends.
Yeah.
See, a lot of my friends will be like, "He's doing it to me. I'm sure of it."
Yeah, he's talking about.
Well, Sarah, I can prove to you that I've never done it to you because you see the little red thing right away from all of mine. So there you go.
Thank you.
This is going to be great. We're so excited to be part of this tour. Chicago is a weird city to do events in because there's so much happening all the time. And I say this all the time, but I feel like Chicago comic fans feel so entitled that they just don't go to stuff because they're like, "Oh, I'll go to the next thing." And because there's always a next thing somewhere else. So we're going out of our way to make sure that people know about this and have to come out to it. And this weekend is Free Comic Book Day, and everybody is getting a little sell sheet about the event as well.
All right.
And I can tell you historically that does nothing for our events, but nonetheless, everybody is getting all the adults, I should say, are getting information on this party.
Oh, good.
So we're gonna have a good time, and you know what? No, I'm gonna have a good time no matter what happens. I know that's gonna be the case.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I point out that every time, because as I said in a previous creative endeavor that still sometimes goes on, I've done things in Chicago, and it's always been a fun time. I've never not had a fun time doing a thing in Chicago.
Yeah.
All right.
And I've actually never been to Chicago. I've
It's
been wanting to go for years.
That's one of the cities I always tell you, remember?
Yeah, I'm really excited. And there's some really fun, I have comics friends in Chicago, and I'm hoping that they come out. but
so you could talk to other comics luminaries in the area if you come out, because Sarah will build them out.
Yeah.
If you want to give me the list of names, I'll invite. I'll invite them personally, so that way they can turn me down and not feel bad about having to turn you down.
No, we want to use the guilt. The guilt is an effective.
Oh, okay. Good.
We'll just pile it on.
Good.
It's all the guilt now. No, I don't know. There's some really fun people there, and hoping I can see some of them. Hey, even if they don't come to the event, if I can somehow go have lunch with them. Chicago's just great.
Chicago is one of my favorites.
Just the event. That's all. Just the event.
Yeah, just the event.
Yeah.
Take it back.
She'll be in no other place. If you want to see her, she will not be leaving the confines.
Yeah. I've heard that Sarah is not having lunch the entire time she's in Chicago. Nothing will be consumed except on the premises of Challengers.
Despite all the delicious places to eat in Chicago, no.
I have heard there are some good ones.
They're great.
But I won't be going there.
Well, if you guys are free, I don't know when you're getting into the city and when you're not leaving, but I don't work Mondays, so if you have time on Monday that's not taken up by someone fancier, I'd be happy to take you out to one of my favorite places in the city.
I don't know, Patrick. You're pretty fancy. You know what I mean? We're basically rolling in. We have a tour stop a day, pretty much every day.
Oh man!
So
holy cow!
So any other, I know we're crazy, right? So any other plans that we make are going to depend on how long it's going to take us to drive to the next location, basically.
Off the top of your head, where will you be before and after Chicago?
Oh man!
And I acknowledge that that's a thing you don't have to know because we're a week away.
I know.
St. Louis is after, you're correct.
Yeah, so St. Louis is...
And Pittsburgh, I think, is before.
Yeah.
Oh man, each of those is like 8-hour drives at least.
This is one of our longer drives, but we really wanted to come to Chicago.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate it.
Well,
and we're going to do our best to make sure that every comic creator in the history of Chicago shows up for this, even the dead ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at least a representative from their state should show up.
That's fair. That's only fair.
If we can't raise them from the dead.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to be on this episode of Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast on the Yak Channel Podcast Network here in Chicago. Even though this wasn't necessarily the most businessiest of topics, honestly, nothing we ever talk about is. So there you go. And I know you've been doing other promotion and other podcasts, and I was trying to not ask you the same questions you have been asked all over the place, regardless of how who else may have listened to what other previous episodes. So that is how I cover my ignorance, by doing it that way. A nice little blanket statement at the end.
No, we were keeping it fresh here.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I didn't even attempt to worry about pronouncing anything else. So yeah. It's I got around it by complete omission. Hooray! No, it was Catchy. Catchy was the one that I did mess up before as well. So there we go. Little Girls from Image Comics. It is over 170 some odd pages. It is only $17.99. That's like $1 for every 10 pages, and it is available at your local comic shop and bookstores right now. But you don't need to worry about that, because you can just get it at Challengers on Monday night, May 13th.
Yes.
Like a week away.
Yeah, and Sarah has great handwriting. She can write a personalized message in there.
Yeah. I'll even put your name in it if you want.
She will write your name with her specific handwriting.
Oh, I thought you meant Nick's name. You're just going to put 2 Nick in every book. or you're going to sign it for him. I think you each sign each other's names while you're here. Is that okay?
She would lose out on that.
I'll just put any names that people want in there. How's that?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Also, was it Revolver that gave you accolades for one of the best covers of the month?
Paste magazine, yeah. Yeah, it was really cool that they said that. Because we were like, man, I don't know, our cover isn't very typical, so I'm not sure how many people are going to really like it.
But that was our rebellious streak again.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, but that cover design is great because it works in every social media format, whether it's just going to be a horizontal bar, whether you need an Instagram square, whether you want to show the whole cover. You can cut a section out and not lose the mood or the feel of the book, which is a thing that we have to deal with all the time, and you can almost never do it. Our website images are always just a quick horizontal slice, and virtually no cover gets represented to the full aspect of the story in that section. Yours worked great.
That's actually a really good point, and I hadn't thought about that. We that artwork is actually a little bit larger than it is on the cover, because I wasn't sure what we would need. So I just kept drawing trees and things. It just kept going. So we, it's you can lose a tree and it'll be okay. Yeah.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you both so much. This has been great, and we'll see you real soon.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick.
Thank you very much.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.
Hi, how's it going?
Pretty good. We're trying to make this work on our end real quick.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah.
I might have tripped over a cord.
Oh, everything I do is fraught with technical difficulties. Don't worry at all.
Yeah, that's my life.
That's the reason we're trying it this way, is because the way I used to work with recording people is it just doesn't. It stopped working.
Oh,
so
yeah.
This is new. This is a free program, and I had a pay program that just didn't work.
Yeah.
Oh no.
However, everything looks good on my end. I saw when you guys popped up, there's things are moving on the screen. I can see wave files.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks very
We're doing
legitimate.
it.
All the wave files and everything going by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we're
It's like-
recording music.
It's like we're alive.
Yeah, that's our heartbeats.
This is oh god, and if there's ever like a long pause, I'm gonna think, uh-oh, something happened.
Yeah,
Someone's not breathing.
yeah, we're flatlined.
Yeah. But I mean, hey, that what is a podcast recording without long awkward pauses and a whole bunch of things like that.
Oh yeah,
We'll do our best.
yeah. We'll put in as many ums as we can.
Yeah. For the
Sure, that's my favorite. That's my favorite. I always wonder why people never edit those out. Like, I understand that it takes time and effort, but a lot of people who do podcasts regularly, like who put out podcasts almost for a living, never seem to edit them. And if I'm interviewing someone and they cough, I'm gonna edit that out.
Yeah. That's. I think that should be across the board of what people should do, but don't quote me on that.
Well, as the one who edited, it's like I can make you say whatever I want. So,
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
I
Quote me on anything.
True.
that's so weird. Nicholas just said he hates children. I don't understand why.
I worked with children for a while. Now I'm just disgusted by them, unfortunately.
Also, you can have us like endorse products if you want.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I mean,
All
yeah,
right.
ones that we're ideologically opposed to, and there's nothing
Right.
we can do. We're in your mercy.
Did I not mention we're supported by the NRA? I feel like I should get that out ahead of time.
Oh man,
Oh man. Well, there's nothing we can do about it.
yeah, we're at your
Well,
mercy.
look,
Yeah.
you guys are in Florida, so I mean, I don't know what your ideological beliefs are in that state.
Oh yeah, no, nobody does here either. Like even by individual, it
Yeah.
depends on the weather.
Yeah, this is true.
Perfect. So, as you figured out, this is going to be extremely casual and just a conversation between friends.
Okay.
But I am going to do this backwards. Normally, I would do like a history of your careers and leading up to Little Girls, and then get into the event. But I'm going to start with plugging the event first, and then build from there. So get people hooked on the thing that's happening, and then the why and stuff like that.
Yeah,
It sounds
Okay.
good. I did think
and-
at first when you said you were going to go backwards that it was going to be like a Zatanna thing. Like
no,
I wasn't
Man.
sure.
oh come on.
I am not smart enough, Sarah, to do that. That would require way too much planning what I'm going to say, which is a thing I never do.
That's fine. It'll work out.
This is going to be an episode full of me not knowing how to pronounce things, specifically names.
Oh yeah,
And I'm going to start right away with, hey, Nicholas,
yeah.
what's your last name?
It would be a Fleegee, which is strange because if you say it right, you're saying it wrong. So
Yeah, my guess was Aflaji.
that's closer to the correct pronunciation. But my grandfather was a very stubborn man who was angry at a certain part of his family, so he, on purpose, pronounced it wrong because it was a point of pride with the people on the other side of the country.
I can respect that. I can get behind spite as a motivational factor.
Well, yeah,
Sure, why
yeah.
not?
Guamanians, which is where he came from, Chamorro Guamanians have a long history of like their names being out of spite and anger. So I think he just took it to the next level.
Yeah.
I love it. And Sarah, I have always said your last name as Delane. Are you going to tell me it's Delaney?
No, it's Delane. Mine's
Okay.
mine's easier.
I mean, you can never assume.
Yeah.
It could be anything.
True.
I didn't want to. I was going to say I didn't want to assume, but I did. I just did. Also, I don't ever do any type of formal introduction, which is a thing I should, which lets you, the guest, know when we're turning it on. But as far as I'm concerned, this is all gold, and we don't have to worry about ramping it up because we're all perfect from the get-go.
Yeah, we are
So
perfect.
we're just gonna.
I'll-
Yeah, I mean, we're already firing on all cylinders. Look, it's been 5 minutes of recording and nothing has crashed.
I know it's working.
That is a record. Yeah, that is a record. I think that already this has exceeded my wildest expectations. So I'm just going to
Yeah, I
keep
think
going.
we're ready to sponsor
And-
Zencaster now, so you can just edit that together however you want us
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they can PayPal
Sure.
us whenever.
to say it. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I will let them know. I will definitely let them know.
Why not?